While tactical games are considered to be unpopular for many reasons, the fact is that they will always have a place in our hearts. So here I am bringing another 7 tactical RPGs not really known, some quite new, some kinda old. So let's begin. Myth was launched in 2021, and it is what I consider a great hidden gem within the vast number of games out there. This tactical RPG has extraordinary ideas. Sure, the visuals are not the best, but I consider that not every single entry needs a huge budget to shine. Myth generates multiple stories. You can choose between some beginning options and jump into the fray, where you can personalize your characters or use the already created ones, where you will have to advance in a world beating countless enemies, and from time to time get into a random event that it's going to place your characters into different choices. Some might be a bit trivial, some others have huge consequences, most of them changing the physique of your characters by having to deal with some peculiar entities. Despite its simple look, I will say that if you know about D&D and the multiple non-orthodox choices you can make as a mage, you are going to have a lot of fun here, because the environment can be used in creative ways, turning multiple stages into a lot of fun. Where sure, everyone begins as simple mortals, but down the line you will have great warriors, where sometimes they have children, opening the curtain for a new story, or having the chance to join their parents. In the next entry, let's check Songs of Conquest. Launched this year, 2024. This game was heavily influenced by Heroes of Might and Magic 3, where you will not just move around beating the heck out of the enemy. Here you would manage an empire, gathering resources, exploring areas, and improving in different ways around peculiar environments. Now add economy, diplomacy, and other multiple things while fighting against other empires. There are 4 factions, where their gameplay is quite unique. It is not like other games where they are almost the same one another. In my humble opinion, few entries accomplish this quite well. Now, gameplay-wise, it is not easy. It takes its time to understand and it can be overwhelming. If you're looking for a casual journey, this is not a good starting point. Once jumping into this mess, you'll be able to move your units in hexagons, where position is key, because ideally you want to link skills and magic, otherwise be prepared to be defeated countless times. And what is cool is that within the 4 factions and the many choices and strategies, this is a game where if you really like SRPGs, you'll be telling yourself, one more round, let me explore a bit more. In a sense, it is similar to Unicorn Overlord, for the sake of a much more popular example. I definitely recommend Songs of Conquest. In the following entry, a free game that I rarely hear anyone talk about, The Battle of Westnoth. It was born in 2003, but it has been updated through the years by lots of people, turning it into something amazing. It is a fantasy advance wars, to put it simple, where you'll choose a faction, and from there capture cities, get resources, and create more units. Something quite impressive is that environments have a huge impact on different units, like forests greatly helping elves, but terrible for dwarves. Something similar with day and night, where depending from the kind of troop, some may get really good advantages, while others will struggle. And if you like this kind of fantasy settings, you know that there are some alliances. Some perhaps a bit too classic, while others definitely originals. Where as battles go, they'll gain experience and rank up into more powerful classes. However, it is fair to mention that it is not perfect, as many tactical games, RNGs can be a bit frustrating, turning some battles into pure brute force. Despite that, for a free game, it is worth a try. It is time to get into a complex tactical mess where patience is a virtue. If you're into story, this game is a must, or group of games, with Field of Glory 2 and Field of Glory 2 Medieval. Both entries are similar, they are quite packed with 48 or 29 factions respectively, and what I would say the closest thing to what a real war is, or simulation of war, for the sake of the example, with mechanics that I haven't seen in any other entry so far. So be prepared to train the mind because every turn and movement matters. Now, this is what can be a bit of a turnoff, but you don't have absolute control over your troops, because once they engage in combat it is kinda hard to retreat, move or do something. It is important to have generals in the map, and nearby allies, to keep morale up, which helps to make certain moves a bit faster. However, if your general engages in combat, all those bonuses to move and position are thrown out of the window. But also there are chances to get extra bonuses to nearby allies, as they see their general lock in combat. And as I said at the beginning, patience is going to be a virtue here. because unlike many other tactical RPGs, you cannot move your units in a few clicks. In this game, every move matters. And something that sounds as simple as rotating 45 degrees has its consequences. And it is not the same executing that command with light units and heavy units. In Field of Glory, you will understand why Kenobi wanted the high ground. Position is key before swords and shields clash. Now, up to here, it sounds cool and all, but I don't recommend it for a casual playing session. It takes a good chunk of time to learn. Not as much as some other games I have already shared in this channel, but most likely your first campaign will be filled with poor executions while you're learning what's going on. And its visuals are not the best, I will say decent. So just keep in mind this entry if you're into brain training. From here, let's jump into old school approaches with Energy Breaker. This is an RPG that we were not able to get in the West back in the day, and it took quite the time to get a patch, so no wonder why few people know about this title. Here we are going to follow Myra, female protagonist with amnesia and multiple dreams about impending doom. It has a good story with nice pace. Of course, it has some classic ideas, but it never gets annoying. This entry is similar to Final Fantasy Tactics and in a sense to Fire Emblem. There are no random encounters, and in most stages you need to beat all the enemies, but there are also other conditions like surviving a net number of turns, defeating some enemies, or reach particular points in the map. And once jump into these battles, your characters receive a balance, equivalent to the percentage of their HP. So it is important to mind your strategy, because every action requires balance, items, skills, even simple attacks. To learn skills in this game you need to use some grimoires before jumping into the fray, where these skills are randomly unlocked in battle, and it is also important to meet the requirements of energy, where once you level up, you can allocate these energy points between different attributes, essentially having an amazing level of customization for each character, because depending on those energy levels is the kind of skills and role each party member will have, so it is completely up to you. In overall, for the time and execution, it is worth playing Energy Breaker. Let's follow with a really obscure SRPG, Dark Wizard, released in 1994. Story-wise, it opens with some cinematics about events from 300 years ago, where the dark god Arliman was summoned by Zohar, a high priest. In face of these events, Sabrina, the goddess of light, descended and gave powers to two leaders of Cheshire. With help of these two warriors, Gillian, the king's wizard, was able to capture Arliman in a duel. Years later, Armer became leader of Cheshire, living in relative peace for the following 300 years, until the story is about to repeat itself once again. Once starting the journey, you have the chance to choose between 4 leaders, with different stories and no real link between them. The plot in this game can feel a bit basic, but isn't enough to pass. After choosing your leader, you can select the difficulty, impossible and not so impossible. In all seriousness, choose easy. Dark Wizard can be nerve-wracking in many moments, so if you're not that confident in your skills, do not say I didn't warn you. Anyways, this is another entry where you move in hexagons, where depending from the leader you chose, you'll have unique characters to command. It is also possible to pay humanoids to join your ranks or summon monsters, where some can be evolved into more powerful classes. Here it's worth mentioning that the game has some interesting ideas, because while in combat, you can look for hidden items, rest, and summon monsters. Here most of the objectives are related to capture the enemy strongholds, or in easy terms, imagine some classic Fire Emblem approaches, where you need to beat the enemy leader. Despite its simplicity, it is a dense game worth trying out. And in our final stop, then again I want to talk once again about another kind of obscure tactical bullet hell chest nerve-wracking mess. Yes, Knights in the Nightmare. Here we are going to follow the Arbiter, Wisp, or also known as Wilmgard, the King, in a quest to save Avenheim from imminent doom. Its story can be a bit confusing, as you will see multiple flashbacks of what happens to every knight you find along the journey, and how in a sense the Wisp recruits them. In all honesty, it is a decent story worth reading. It has interesting ideas here and there. Now, if you ask me, I prefer the DS version because playing with the stylus is way easier for an already hard game. But if that is not an issue, then for those who know Japanese, I recommend the Switch version. Gameplay wise, the first thing I recommend is to jump into the tutorial section, because if you try to get right away into these convoluted fights, you'll feel like it is way too overwhelming. The basic idea is that every knight loses a bit of vitality every time you attack or use special skills, so you wanna be as efficient as possible by turning the law and chaos switch, where every unit will have a different range or way of movement. So it is also important to break every box, lamp, grass or whatever, because that is how you find items to recruit different allies through the journey. Allies with different classes, between 8 of them. Once you choose your knights and allocate them in the map, you have limited time to beat every enemy, where it only decreases while using moves and if the wisp gets hit. It is also possible to diminish the impacts, but believe me, between the multiple things happening on a screen, it is kinda hard to manage all those things. As for your characters that slowly lose their HP as battles pass, you will have to fuse their souls, increasing their stats, unlocking their caps, and getting a bit of vitality back. If you're into really complex games, and of course tactical games that pull some crazy ideas in between, Knights in the Nightmare is a must. I hope you found this video informative. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.